at you. I'm not telling you to go away. I'm telling the notifications to go away. Go away, notifications. Uh-oh. Is it choppy? Because it's choppy for me. Is it choppy? Everything should be okay, but it's choppy for me. I don't care though. I don't care that it's choppy. It's choppy, so what? I'm gonna count how many CDs I've got on my stack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I've got 14 CDs holding you up. It's September 1st. It feels like fall. It can't feel like fall just because the calendar changed. Can you overdose on water? Can you drink too much water? I think it would have to be a lot, right? I get very, very frustrated when things don't work properly. Technical things. As you might notice if you watched my last video. Okay, as soon as I press record, my head gets itchy. It was fine before. And now I can't stop scratching my scalp. I've got my fall hair on. Today's garbage day. I've started recording chapter 9, but I have to take it in steps. I can't do it all at once because even though only one garbage truck picks up my garbage, multiple garbage trucks go by all day long, which I don't quite understand. Hello, whoever's there. I don't really feel like being entertaining, okay? I mean, I want to be entertaining when I'm reading, but in the downtime, I don't really. I've been drinking lots of tea. Oh, this is my favorite place in the world. I don't know if it's clear. On my end, when I'm looking on my phone screen, it looks very hazy. Sonnenberg Gardens. If I go like this, does it focus? If I click here? No. Yeah, something's happening when I hold my finger on the screen. Oh, wait. Is this backwards for you or just backwards for me? Because I don't like it backwards. Like when I take pictures facing myself and videos, I always make sure they're flipped so that if I'm holding something up, it's not written backwards. I hate that. I hate so much. Hate is not good. Okay, I don't hate. I dislike it. It annoys me. Also, I never wear dark nail polish. It's not even that dark. Well, it's darker in person than it shows up on my screen. But I felt like wearing a darker one. But it's not really working for me. I mean, in my mind, I don't like the way it looks. I like light pinks. Well, I like some dark colors. Like gem tones and stuff. Like emerald and sapphire and ruby. Those are dark colors I like. Okay, I'm going to get more water. Wait a minute. Before I go, I have to just check what happened at the end of we're about to start chapter 12. At the end of chapter 11, what was happening? The password. Good morning, Dad, you old fox. Fox is after stock. Nancy has a daring plan. Nancy conceived a daring plan before going to sleep. Good luck, but be careful. Shortly before 10 o'clock, Nancy entered the lobby of the new Lasser Hotel. Right. My name is Drew, Miss Nancy Drew, she explained. I'm expecting a long distance call. Nancy is pretending to be Mitzi Channing, pretending to be Nancy. Got that straight? I hope so, because I don't. Okay, I'll be back with, I'm wearing a dress that I haven't worn in a long time. It's like a fall dress. Woohoo! You want to see what I use in my wig? Well, in my fake wigs. Is that written backwards? Dryer sheets. And keep your hair from being all fuzzy, and it kind of like gets them to calm down a little. Ugh, doesn't smell very good. Honey lotus bamboo. I don't think so. All right. My favorite place in the world is Sonnenberg Gardens in Canandaigua, New York. Ouch, that's hot. I've been going, well, I haven't gone for a while, but I used to go there every summer when I visit my aunt and uncle and cousins in New York. It's a beautiful place, and it's very magical, nostalgic to me. I love botanical gardens to begin with. Well, maybe that started my love of botanical gardens and like old things. I don't know. Somebody just said, hey. Hey, wait a minute. Come on, let me see who's saying hello, please. Oh, sorry, I'm really frustrated with technology. I hate it. I want to move into the woods like that Henry David Thoreau guy. Like, desperately. I'm gonna have to turn this way, I think. I really should read his book because, I mean, I don't even know if I like it. Is it all intellectual and stuff? I'm not into that. I'm only into hearing about like how he survives in the woods and maybe talking about animals and what it looks like and stuff. That's all I care about. I don't care about why he moved there because he hates the government or whatever. I mean, I do too, but I don't really want to read about it. What was that? Oh, it was my CD. I hit the thing and the CD was going to come out. Okay. But it works better pointed the other way for me. Okay. I'd like to see who said hello. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, both of you. And anyone else who's here. Due to my erraticness, I'm going to have to turn off the chat for now because I just can't handle it. My brain can't handle talking to two people. And just dealing with my phone. Dealing with technology in general makes me stressed. I don't like it, but I know that it's necessary in this modern world. All right, forget it. What were we talking about? Okay, let's get back to this story, shall we? I think I'm actually going to put my stupid glasses on. I don't like this kind of glasses anymore. This shape, unfortunately, they've been tainted. The shape of glasses has been tainted politically for me. Plus, they're I somehow got them crooked, and all I can see is the crookedness of them. So they've been tainted politically. Don't ask me to explain. Cautiously, she lifted the receiver and said, "Hello. Hello. snapped back a man's brisk voice. And then it added a second word, lake. For an instant, there was silence. Nancy thought frantically. Lake? That must be a password between the swindlers, she told herself. Suddenly, a possible answer snapped into her mind. She set her jaw and tried to make her voice sound coarse. Dunstan, she replied. End of chapter 11. When I started recording my Hidden Staircase chapter, I got confused as to what chapter I was reading because I'm reading 3 Nancy Drew books at a time. Chapter 12. It's a fair length, but let's just take it in steps, okay? Baby steps. I'm not going to think of the whole chapter. I'm just going to take it page by page. When you leave here today, don't think about getting out of the building. Just think about getting out of the office. Chapter 12, Slippery Sydney. The word Dunstan seemed to satisfy the man at the other end of the wire. He identified himself as Sydney. Listen, Mitzi, he said, I've got a deal cooking here for $1,000 worth of stock. Old Mrs. Bellhouse will buy it, but I've got to work fast. He's supposed to be a ladies' man, right? I don't know. I don't think he would sound like that. I'm making him sound like a little guy. But he's supposed to be like suave, maybe? I don't know. He's just a sleazeball. Swell, Nancy murmured in a low voice. Sure, it's swell, Sydney agreed. But the trouble is I'm nearly out of certificates. You'll have to get more printed and rush 'em to me. You mean to River Heights? Speak a little louder, Sydney ordered. I said, where do you want the stock sent? Why, to Winchester Police? Not police. Why, to the Winchester Post Office, of course. General delivery, the man snapped. As soon as I make this sale, I'll beat it to Dunstan. The receiver clicked as the man abruptly ended the conversation. Nancy hurried back to the Hotel Canadien, where she found her father waiting in the lobby. I'm glad you're here, he said. I've been called home on urgent business. I've already notified Chuck that we'll be leaving on the next plane. Chuck is going to be heartbroken. Nancy had no chance to tell about the man on the telephone until she and her father were seated in the plane. I'm sure I was talking to Sydney Boyd, she declared, the one who sold stock and earrings to that actress in New York, and then stole the earrings from her. Obviously, you're right, the lawyer agreed. But in order to trap this man, you'll have to supply him with new stock certificates. I know. Dad, would it be possible to make copies from Hannah's certificate? Mr. Drew looked thoughtful. I know a printer who would do a rush job for us. However, I must warn you that it's illegal to print fake stock, even for a worthy purpose. I'll contact the authorities and get permission. Okay, is there anything Carson Drew cannot get permission for? And is there anybody he does not know? I'm drinking. Oh, do you want me to show you what I'm drinking? Okay, I will. Okay, I will. Egg noodles. Instant noodles. Instant noodles. Do you ever buy things because you like the packaging of them? Like that's what first draws your eye? Hello, garbage people. Okay. Oh, first, look, here's the French side. Oh wait, I'll put the chat on because I want somebody to tell me. Could somebody please tell me if this is backwards for you? So writing backwards. Cassis a Muir. I don't know how to say it. Blackcurrant and blackberry. I love this picture, or I love the drawing. Doesn't it look nice and juicy? Thank you, RM Star. Thank you. Doesn't that look juicy? Makes me want wild blackberries. So I have that with honey. Yum, yum. See, like, garbage people are going, and recycle people go back and forth all day. But our garbage doesn't get picked up until like 5 or something sometimes. It's like, what are they doing? Wait, no, they're picking up. Okay, they're taking the recycling. Thank you, mister. They're so quick. They're so quick. They're really quick, but then I don't understand. Like 20 trucks go back and forth. It's a very smelly day. I keep thinking about autumn smells, spicy smells, oranges. Why do I think of oranges? I don't think of apples. I think of oranges in the autumn. Spicy orange. I don't know. All right, Carson Drew knows a printer, but it's illegal, so he's got to get permission. As soon as the plane landed at River Heights, Mr. Drew went to his office. Meanwhile, Nancy searched several telephone directories for a listing of Mrs. Bell House. Somebody remind me who Mrs. Bell House is, please. Oh, right. That's who they're going to swindle. Okay. An old lady they're going to swindle. Right. The fake Nancy Drew and those other guys. There was none, so she went to the public library and thumbed through the city directories. Apparently, no one by the name of Sidney Boyd's intended victim lived in Winchester or in any of the nearby towns. At dinner, Mr. Drew reported that he had received permission to have Hannah's stock certificate copied. The printer would have the papers ready by noon the next day, and Mr. Drew would rush them to Montreal, where a colleague would remail them to Winchester. That's great, Nancy said. But something worries me, Dad. I can't find Mrs. Bell House's address anywhere. Never mind, the lawyer reassured her. As soon as those stocks are mailed, we'll notify the Winchester police. They can watch the general delivery window at the post office and shadow Sidney Boyd after he picks up the package. Nancy shook her head. Mr. Boyd may call for the package under another name. Perhaps Mitzi always sends the stocks that way. Well, ours will be addressed to Sidney Boyd, since that's the only name we know. Of course, the fellow may send someone else to the post office to get the parcel, and he may collect the money from Mrs. Bell House before he goes to the post office. We'll have to remember that we're taking a gamble. Nancy nodded. But the odds would be with us if we could find Mrs. Bell House and catch that man in the act of selling her his fake stock. Hannah Gruen spoke up. If this Mrs. Bell House is elderly, she probably sees a doctor from time to time. Why not ask Dr. Britt about medical people in the area who might know her? A wonderful idea, Nancy exclaimed, hurrying to the telephone. At her request, Dr. Britt agreed to do this. Here's a question. Does anyone ever not go along with Nancy's plans? You know, they're so accommodating. Oh, it's Nancy Drew. She wants us to do something for her. Okay. The next morning, Bess and George arrived at the Drew home, eager to trade news with Nancy. George reported that John Horn had gone ice fishing, but would speak with the Drews as soon as he returned. He says Chuck Wilson's a right handsome fellow, she added. Bess sighed. Nancy has all the luck. Well, wish that my luck holds out, Nancy said, smiling, at least until Dr. Britt contacts me. At that moment, the telephone rang. The caller was Miss Compton, Dr. Britt's office nurse. She told Nancy, Dr. Green recently placed a woman named Mrs. Bellhouse in the Restview nursing home at the edge of Winchester. Visiting hours are between 2 and 3:30. Nancy thanked the woman and hung up. After telling the cousins what she had learned, she said, Let's have a talk with Mrs. Bellhouse. The girls started off immediately. Just before 2 o'clock, they reached the rambling white nursing home. If I ever have to live in a nursing home, I would like a rambling white nursing home. And no rules. A uniformed nurse greeted them, and Nancy explained their mission. Can you come back tomorrow? The woman asked. Mrs. Bellhouse has been ill, and she's sleeping now. She shouldn't have callers today. As the girls returned to the car, Nancy proposed that they stay near the nursing home to see if Sidney Boyd showed up. They waited an hour, but the suspect did not appear. So I touched it and it stops. How's everyone doing? You want to see my new hat? I love hats. I wore the same hat all summer. I just wear the floppy hat with the flower. But when it comes other hat weather, fall and winter, I want as many hats as possible. And I got rid of some hats. I don't have as many hats as I did. So here's my hospital hat. I like to wear it with the flower in front. The bangs it makes my bangs a little, isn't it fun? I love it. Oh, when I take it off, I have to remember to hold my hair down or it'll come off. I'm not used to holding my hair down when I take my hat off. I have to learn to do that. If I wear it the way the tag says to wear it, it's like this. It's okay too, but I like this. Which way do you like best? The way it's supposed to be worn? Or screaming out there? Or like this. You know what? I got rid of my Blossom hat. I don't know why I did that. That I got at Walt Disney World in 1993. I had it, since 1993 till last year. And I have pictures with it and stuff. It's a black velvety hat with a big fake purple sunflower from the early 90s. I kind of wish I hadn't gotten rid of it, but I just felt like I didn't need it anymore. I wish I still had it. Okay, let's keep the hat on for a while because it's fun. There's a child screeching in a happy way. It's like a happy screeching, but still. Do you remember when you were that age? Did you scream? I don't remember screaming. You know how kids, they just scream because they're kids. It's not because they're in peril or anything. They just screech. I don't recall ever screeching unless I was in peril or something. What are your thoughts on that? They waited an hour, but the suspect did not appear. The next day, Nancy learned from the detective on duty at the Winchester post office that Sidney Boyd had not been there. It's probably too soon, she thought. At 2 o'clock, Nancy and her friends were again at the nursing home. The nurse they had spoken to the previous afternoon led the girls to a sunny front room on the second floor. Mrs. Bellhouse was a fragile old lady with silver hair and faded blue eyes. She smiled at Nancy as Nancy approached her bed. "Who are you?" she asked. "I'm Nancy Drew, Mrs. Bellhouse, and these are my friends, George Fane and Bess Marvin." "So young," murmured the old lady. "Did my relative Sidney Boyd send you? Sidney's the husband of my dear cousin Elsie." "Are you expecting him today?" Nancy asked. "This very afternoon," Mrs. Bellhouse said. She motioned for Nancy to bend nearer. "I have something for Sidney, but I don't want that starchy old nurse to know," she said with a chuckle. "See?" The old lady pulled out a drawer of her night table. Under some tissues lay a pile of currency. "It's $1,000, the woman confided. Nancy pretended surprise. "That's a most generous gift," she remarked. "No such thing," Mrs. Bellhouse answered. "Sidney's selling me stock in a wonderful fur company. The dividends will end my financial worries." George had George had posted herself near a front window. It's my glasses. That's why I can't read. I forgot to put my glasses back on. Whoa. Hello, I can read now. Duh. When a car parked and a man got out, George gave Nancy a signal, and the three girls said a hasty goodbye to Mrs. Bellhouse. In the hall, Nancy said quickly, "George, you go downstairs and call the police. Bess and I will hide in the room that connects with the one Mrs. Bellhouse is in. It's empty." The girls retreated just as a man with a pencil-thin mustache strode up the stairs and into the woman's room. "Cousin Clara!" he exclaimed. I'm hearing sirens and screeching, kids. Nancy and Bess, watching through a crack in the connecting room, saw Sidney Boyd clasp Mrs. Bellhouse's hand. "You look well today. Charming. I wish I were free to spend the afternoon with you. However, I brought you the stock certificate." "Sidney, I've been thinking of dear Elsie," Mrs. Bellhouse quavered. "She never let me know when she married you." "I'm sure she did. You've probably forgotten," he said quickly. "Now, before that crabby old nurse comes back, do you have the money?" "It's right here," said Mrs. Bellhouse. "Fine, Cousin Clara. Here's the stock." He handed her an envelope. "And I'll take the money. Wasn't that easy?" Nancy and Bess watched indignantly. Then they heard footsteps behind them. It was George, who tiptoed forward and whispered, "Police on the way." As Boyd started to leave his victim, he cocked his head and listened. An automobile had just stopped in front of the house. The man looked out a window, then ran from the room. Nancy followed him as he bolted down the back stairway. "Come on, girls," she urged. The steps were... Jesus, child. Now I think it's a bird or a squirrel. Okay. The steps were narrow and unlighted. Halfway down, they turned sharply. Here, Bess tripped and fell against Nancy, who was just ahead of her. "Oh," Nancy murmured. "Oh," Nancy murmured, grasping for the rail and managing to regain her balance. George quickly helped Bess to her feet, but the delay had given Sidney Boyd a head start. When the girls reached the rear porch of the nursing home, Their quarry was nowhere in sight. "I'm so sorry," Bess said tearfully. "Never mind," said George. "But you sure were clumsy," she chided. George is mean. People aren't clumsy on purpose. "Let's separate and look for him," Nancy suggested. George dashed around the east side of the house while Bess raced toward the rear of the grounds. Nancy made a beeline for the grove of birches at the west side of the nursing home. She spotted Sidney Boyd crouched behind a clump of saplings. The man saw her coming. He jumped up and sprinted toward the road. Nancy still cried out loudly, "Help! Help!" Hearing Nancy's cry, George flagged down the two approaching policemen. "Hurry," she urged, jumping into their police car. "The thief is down the road, and my friend is chasing him." Boyd now crossed the road and started into a field. The officers left their car and sprinted after the swindler. Within seconds, the man was a prisoner. "What's the meaning of this outrage?" he sputtered. "You'll know fast enough," one of the policemen told him as they walked toward the road where Nancy and George were waiting. "Suppose you listen to this young lady." "Who's she?" Boyd snapped. "I'm Nancy Drew," the young sleuth spoke up. "I've never heard of you," the man said, sneering. The policeman, the prisoner, Nancy, and George rode back to the nursing home. Bess was waiting at the entrance. "Nancy, I've been talking with the nurse," she said. "We'd better not tell Mrs. Bellhouse about this. The police can give her her money back somehow. If she knew the stock is worthless, she might have another attack." "What do you mean, worthless?" Boyd demanded. "You know there's no Forest Fur Company," George said. "And Dunstan Lake, Vermont isn't on the map." Boyd smiled coyly. "If there's anything phony about the Forest Fur Company, that's not my fault. I'm merely a broker, and I find this news quite shocking." "There's a warrant out for your arrest," said one of the policemen. "Let's go." The other officer turned to Nancy and said, "I'd like you to follow us." Whew, goodness. Poor Mrs. Bellhouse. Can you believe I have a wig and a hat on and like I don't know what it's made of, like t-shirt material. Usually I wear really light things. And I'm drinking tea and I'm not so hot that I'm like dying. It must really be a new season. See, I told you I'd have so much more energy when it wasn't hot. Plus, it's probably the drugs I'm injecting myself with. That sounded horrible. The prescribed drugs. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I'm a little itchy, though. Oh. Ah. Okay, where were we? I'd like you to follow us. At the Winchester police station, the captain praised Nancy for her fine detective work. "Miss Drew," he said, taking a piece of paper from his desk, "I think you'll be interested in this." The arresting officers recovered it from Boyd's pocket, along with the $1,000 he took from the woman in the rest home. It's part of the reason that fellow's behind bars now. The letter, postmarked New York, read, "Dear Sid, tell the boss to come across with some pay or there won't be any more stock printed. Ben." "That's clear evidence," Nancy said. Returning the paper, she added, "I haven't heard of Ben." The captain smiled. "We know now that the fur stock is printed in New York and that Boyd is definitely one of them. I'll have the New York police trace Ben. I don't know why I thought Ben was like a huge bear. I'm thinking of Gentle Ben. Why was that the first Ben I thought of? A big bear. I've never even seen Gentle Ben. It just popped into my head. I'll appreciate it if you'll let me know what comes of this, Nancy said, and told the captain goodbye. She returned to her car where Bess and George were waiting. Hypers, George exclaimed. You were in there so long we thought we might have to bail you out. As Nancy drove toward River Heights, she told her friends what had happened. It seems to me this case is pretty well cracked, said George. Don't you think you need a vacation, Nancy? Nancy's eyes twinkled. Good idea, she said. How would you like to go to Aunt Eloise's lodge in the Adirondacks? She has a vacation coming up. Maybe she'd come with us. Why, we'd freeze up there, Bess exclaimed. Okay, that's one way I'm not like Bess. I love freezing. It's between semesters at Emerson, Nancy pointed out, ignoring the protest. We could invite the boys. Yes, boys! The girls began making enthusiastic plans. Suddenly, Bess exclaimed, I'll bet there's something behind this idea of yours. Does it have to do with the fur mystery? Could be, Nancy admitted. Remember, Aunt Eloise first heard of Dunstan Lake when she was at her summer home. It's possible the gang has headquarters in that vicinity. And you want to add detectives Ned Nickerson, Dave Evans, and Bert Eddleton to your investigation squad, George declared. Exactly, Nancy admitted. Suppose you come to my house while I phone Aunt Eloise. I hope we can start day after tomorrow. Bess looked worried. What if the boys can't go? It wouldn't be safe up there without some men. The Adirondacks are full of bears. Gentle Ben. Who sleep all winter, George hooted. Nancy laughed. There probably won't be anything more dangerous than a few minks. But the stock swindlers, Bess began. No need to worry yet, Nancy advised. First, I must ask Aunt Eloise if she can go. End of chapter 12. I hate it when I mess up on the last sentences. First, I must ask Aunt Eloise. That's kind of a hard sentence. Say it with me. First, I must ask Aunt Eloise if she can go. I must ask Aunt Eloise if she can go. Oh, this is going to be fun. We're going to is it a cabin? We're going to a cabin in the Adirondacks? It's just a house, I guess. But it's winter and it's the Adirondacks. And the boys are coming and there could be bears. And the next chapter is called The House Party. Woo! And there's a picture in the next chapter. I won't show you the next picture until it's time, okay? I gotta take all this off. So, yeah, I feel like taking this off too. Oh, it feels really good to take it off. Oh. 100% wool. Yep, that's going to be hot. That's going to keep my head warm. All right. Well, that was a fun chapter, right? I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Oh, it's sunny. I really wish the weather would just like pick one thing. If it's going to be gray and dreary and kind of like cool and breezy and rainy all day, stay like that. If it's going to be still and sunny, stay like that so I can get used to it and adapt. Or like I don't have to adapt throughout the day. I just know what the weather is going to be like. Mother Nature is unpredictable. So, as you know, I have many books. This is a little book, one of Great Uncle Frank's books. Sonnets of This Century. And it's sitting on top of my shelf with other books. It's just many, 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 many poems. And there is one by some guy named WMW Call, C-A-L-L, which is my last name, but I don't think he's a relation. It's called The Haunted Shore, and it's real nice. And there are a few little pieces of envelope stuck through here. And you can see a little bit of the postmark. Montreal, October 24th, something p.m. But you can't see the date. And I'm like, did I put that in there? Or did Great Uncle Frank put that in there? And it's been there for like eons. And then because he wanted to go back to that poem or something. And then there's a few more. I'm like, is that an old postmark? I don't know. If something came to me, wait a minute. Does this mean it was sent from Montreal? I don't know. Anyway, the Canterbury Poets, see? F-O, call. And then in the back he wrote out a poem, not his own. Something Scott. What's that guy who wrote The Great Gatsby? Fitzgerald something? F. Fitzgerald? Is that who? I don't know. I can't read this. Can you see what that says? Well, the name of the poem is Solomon. And at the end it says something Scott. Wait. What does F stand for? Anyway, I don't know if that's did he write poems too? I never read anything by that guy. I never read The Great Gatsby. Anyway, I cannot read Great Uncle Frank's writing without a lot of magnifying glass and stuff. And then he wrote a few notes here and there. People had better eyes back then, I guess. Did people have better eyes back then? Because, woo, it's tiny. And then, since I've been reading the witch tree symbol, and it's making me think of Sleepy Hollow. And now I'm interested in Pennsylvania Dutch stuff, and I started watching Witness from 1985 with Harrison Ford, because it takes place in Amish country. I knew of that movie, but I never had the hankering to watch it. And now that I'm interested in this kind of stuff, all of a sudden, I downloaded it and I'm watching it. But here, Sleepy Hollow is in the sketchbook by Washington Irving. I should do live videos at night when there's not all this light from the sorry, I just saw a bookmark. It's my uncle. It's my favorite uncle, John, who passed away. I put him in this book and I didn't even realize it. That's what I do. I put people in books. Also a card from Marina Vintage Style Pinup Boutique. I wonder if it's still there. I never bought anything there. I just looked in the window and said, Ooh, dresses. And I took their card. Oh, and that is, ooh, that was right here. Christmas Eve. Oh, I love that. Isn't it beautiful, though, the old books? Look at the flower. Here, hold it here. Look at the flower. Isn't it beautiful? Anyway, Sleepy Hollow is in here. I've never read the story. First exposure to it, of course, was the Walt Disney version with Bing Crosby and all them that went along with The Wind in the Willows. Oh, look. It's so pretty. Mm. Mm. And I never saw the one with Johnny Depp and Christina Ricci. I'm thinking about downloading it. I might like it. The look of it, it's kind of nice. I've listened to the audiobook many times, but not the whole thing because I fall asleep. But I love to have, ooh, and Rip Van Winkle. I fell asleep listening to that as well. But there's a lot of stuff in here, including The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Ooh, there's a bunch of Christmas stuff, which is very interesting to me. Like I want to read some Christmas things around that season, poems and little stories. I have A Christmas Carol, but obviously I'm not going to read the whole thing. I mean, you can find 5 million people reading it better than me. Oh, I suggest, or I recommend, who's that guy who played Pennywise? Tim Curry reading A Christmas Carol. It's very good. But there's Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Christmas Dinner, London Antiques. Where's the Sleepy Hollow? Oh, it's way down here. Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Rural life in England. The country church. English writers on America. It just sounds very beautiful. Anyway, who's read some Washington Irving? Oh, when Disney did their little the cartoon of it, I found I think it's about 15 minutes animated little biography of Washington Irving, and it's introduced by Walt Disney. I was watching that yesterday, and that was interesting. I'll post it. Anyway, I love my old books. Thank you, Great Uncle Frank. Makes me want to draw too. I don't draw, I knit, but I really want to try drawing flowers. Yeah, mostly flowers, plants. And this, just looking at that, makes me want to draw a daffodil. I have a sketchbook and well, I don't think I have many pencils and things because I'm not really a pencil person. What's a pencil pusher? Okay, I'm going to go now. Thank you for joining me for chapter 12 of Mystery at the Ski Jump. Chapter 13, the house party, should be quite fun. Ned and the Nedlings are on their way. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a great Thursday.